I'm Sebastian. I'm 28 years old and I live my life as a performance piece. From the moment I wake to the moment I fall asleep, every feeling, every emotion is expressed through my body. Whether I'm in front of a crowd of 1,000 or alone in my studio apartment / creative space, I am constantly trying to better my last performance. I don't believe you can call yourself an artist unless you've been so moved by something that you've physically thrown up. I make an active effort to encourage those who I feel don't put enough effort into their art to give up. I once had a fist fight with a living statue. My favourite performance piece I've ever witnessed was a junkie pretending to have a fit outside of a Debenhams after being caught shoplifting. Humans have a hard time processing what it is that I'm trying to communicate to them. My most satisfying performance to date was a 3-hour-long interpretive dance which I performed to a field of cows. I am Sebastian, and sometimes I push my body so hard I'm unable to make it home and I have to sleep in the streets. I am Sebastian, and I once paid a man to beat me up in front of a school bus full of children. I am Sebastian, and I once called in a bomb threat to the church in which my father's second marriage was taking place, and then showered the guests with pig's blood as they were evacuated. I am Sebastian.
Non vedrai farfallone amoroso, notte e giorno d'intorno girando. Recita! Nel bicchiere scintillante, come il riso dell'amante mite infonde giù.
When I was a little girl, I used to spend lots of time cutting things out of my mum's catalogues. And those things were things I imagined I might have in the future. They consisted of handsome men and small children and soft furnishings mostly. To want something, you really have to be able to imagine it. And to be able to imagine it, you have to have some element of experience in it. And for many of our children, that experience is limited. So those children need someone to be Imagineers for them. And I think that's one of the things that education should be about. It should be about building possible futures for children and scaffolding and tooling that possible future until they've reached a point where they can dream and imagine for themselves. Sometimes those dreams might seem inconceivable or impossible. And it's a teacher's role to show children that no matter where they came from or no matter what they've experienced, that possibility always exists. And I think that dream unites everyone across the education spectrum, regardless of whether they come from right or left.
The people of Syria want to reform in their country after 12 years of oppression under President Assad's dictatorship. This led to protests all over the country, The army answered by opening fire on the demonstrators. Hundreds died and thousands more were arrested. Syria, a once modernised country under the regime of Assad's father, Hafez al-Assad, split apart by civil war, hunger and repression. A third of the Syrian people have been displaced within Syria, while over 4 million have fled the country. The refugees seeking asylum in Europe attempting to cross the borders of Macedonia, Serbia, Bosnia, Hungary, Slovenia, Austria and Germany. While tiny Jordan has taken in over 600,000, the UK, which has 78 times the GDP of Jordan, will only take in around 20,000 refugees. The US has agreed to accept 10,000, while Australia has accepted 12,000 people. Overall, things are slowly getting better, but just not fast enough to cope with the flowing tide of refugees seeking asylum.
I've always been told to let go of the things that aren't meant for you. And, you know, that's what we do in here. We all know it's not good for us. You know, bread is it's the bad stuff, but we become dependent on it, you know, and it's got nothing good for us in it. You know, when you're hooked, you're hooked. You know, I remember old Davy, you know, hadn't touched a drop of bread in his whole life. And then got his first taste of it. 2 weeks later, dead, wasn't he? Yeah, it didn't take him long. It doesn't take long, sadly, but it's time for us to put it right, you know? I go out and I try to put my message out there to as many humans as possible. I found it takes just one duck. One duck like me to stand up and say, I hate bread. Give me oats, and that will make a difference. I wake up each day with a mission to change one person's mind that day, you know, one mind at a time. That's how I do it. You know, most of the time I don't go around, you know, with handouts, but sometimes you have to, you know, you have to spread the message, you know, physically to them, and you know, I can be quite inventive with the ways I get it done, but you know, sometimes it takes a lot to change someone's mind. You've got to be a bit forceful, you've got to get in there, you've got to take that extra step. Put them in our shoes, you know? I see a future of humans feeding oats to ducks. I see a future when the world knows that ducks love them too. Quaker oats.
How do we get young adults to take injustice personally? By putting them in the shoes of someone facing injustice. Introducing Would You Rather. First, we start off by targeting something that's truly personal to them, Wi-Fi. Amnesty International will collaborate with brands that offer free in-store Wi-Fi. When connecting, users will encounter a splash page that offers a choice of internet speeds. When the fastest speed is chosen, users will be directed to a simple game of Would You Rather. After completing the game, it would be revealed that the questions are life choices faced by real people. Users can then choose how they would advocate for justice. Young adults love their music and videos, ad-free, so we're going to offer them just that via Spotify and YouTube. Choosing the ad-free option would direct them to play a comprehensive web version of Would You Rather. A storyline-based game employs a character that the user must keep alive through their choices. Members of the public will be able to participate through the placement of interactive billboards and bus stop advertisements. Touch screens provide the opportunity to navigate your way through real situations not only entertain bystanders but will engage them, forcing them to think. Public benches and bus stop seats will be strategically placed to stir curiosity and interest amongst the public. This campaign will be expanded to popular survival games such as DayZ, a game where dying takes you back to the beginning of the game, and The Walking Dead, a survival game based on the choices a player makes. We will offer bonus levels in these games where real life choices are offered, forcing players to experience injustice on a platform they can relate to. Would You Rather communicates what it is like to experience injustice. With a clear call to action in this campaign, Amnesty International will be able to recruit a new generation of advocates for justice. From an interactive computer screen to a static outdoor advertisement, the reach is endless and full of possibilities.
Take time. I take time. I write your bullet from the south. A different taste in my mouth. I take time.
Alopecia areata is an autoimmune condition that causes hair loss. Although it isn't a fatal disorder, the psychological effects of it can be severe. My name is Sabina. I've lived with alopecia for nearly 2 years now. This is my story. I was playing with my hair when I felt a strange texture on my scalp. I rushed to the bathroom mirror. There it was, a perfectly smooth, round, bald spot. I felt confused and scared. Why was this happening? What I had wasn't regular hair loss, it was alopecia areata. For a long time, I told no one. I wore my hair to hide the spot. I suppressed my feelings to the extent that all I felt was numbness. A few months later, I got my official diagnosis. Not long after, my hair started shedding rapidly. Along with my hair, I started to lose my confidence, my sense of self. Alopecia brought with it a range of conflicting feelings. I felt angry with my condition, guilty for not handling it better, alone and insecure. To myself, I was a stranger. Along with my emotions, I hid my hair loss. Until one day, I couldn't hide the bald spots anymore. Every morning, I pulled out a handful of hair. I could barely look at myself in the mirror. I wanted to shave it, but desperately clung to it, until one morning, I felt a surge of courage. As my boyfriend shaved the remaining strands, I watched myself with teary eyes. But these tears were different. They were of relief. I was finally taking control over my condition. And to my surprise, I liked the way I looked. I saw my eyelashes, eyebrows, and remaining body hair fall off. I avoided dealing with the psychological effects of it until I realized the only way to heal was to face it. This inspired me to turn it into a creative project. I read stories about other women coping with alopecia. I was able to compare their experiences with my own by interviewing and creatively engaging them in sharing their experiences. As the project developed, it became increasingly important to reflect on my own experience. I realized that as these women had helped me by sharing their stories, I wanted to help them by sharing mine. Touchpoint is the result of a self-explorative creative process. By translating my own battle of alopecia into everyday armor, the journey is represented by 5 interactive wearable pieces, art directed into a poster series depicting the emotional transformation from concealing my alopecia to revealing it. Everyone has their own story, but as alopecians, we're also part of a bigger story. By sharing my creative interpretation of this story, I hope to raise awareness, destigmatize, and empower other women living with alopecia. Alopecia has reshaped me, but it doesn't define me.